So, ladies and gentlemen, this interview is brought to you by Burn Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you are committed to breaking through your BS, reigniting that fire within you so you can succeed like never before, the 21-Day Challenge helps you do exactly that. You'll get clear on your purpose, be able to break it down into bite-sized steps and manageable goals, set daily accountabilities, dial in your habits, remove the limiting beliefs, all the stuff, and you will succeed on your 21-day challenge goal. So that's the 21-day challenge. If you are ready to join that, send me an email, chris@beyourgps.com, or you can send me a message on Facebook and say 21-day challenge. Thanks in advance for doing that, and I look forward to helping you break through your BS and step into your GPS. Next up is going to be the iTunes review of the week, and it's by Melissa C. And Melissa says, enthusiasm and energy. This guy has enough energy to spare, and it helps me feel spunky and enthusiastic again. Yay! Awesome, Melissa. Thanks so much for giving us that review. And if you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store or search it on Facebook, and you'll get a chance to be shouted out on the 12-hour marathon. Thanks in advance for doing that and letting us know how we can grow and improve and become our greatest possible selves with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, this next woman is an absolute powerhouse, and my goodness, we are going to go deep. It's going to be an incredible conversation, so really buckle up and get out a pen and paper, get out notes, get out something to really capture this information, because Stephanie is going to share the gold, the spiritual gold, to help you really understand your life, understand why things happen, and step into your greatness, especially in the areas of spirituality, self-love, self-growth, and being your best self. So make sure you stick around all the way through the end, because you never know what one idea can completely transform your life. Let's introduce Stephanie. So Stephanie Lodge, and by the way, I met her in person, absolutely amazing energy, and it was just such a blast. And I'm opening up this intro because I had to scroll down. So I met her in person, and she had amazing energy, and I just knew, like, wow, this person is out to really do good in the world. So let's introduce her. Reverend Stephanie Lodge is a licensed minister and practitioner of metaphysics, as well as an author, transformational speaker, and pioneer of what she terms the practice of angelic arts and sciences. As a mystic and energy alchemist, she specializes in soul empowerment and shares the wisdom she receives directly from Source as transmitted through the collective frequencies of light intelligence she calls the angelic light streams. She began her journey of awakening through the guidance of this field of conscious creation, having previously worked in entertainment and technology. Stephanie's current Science of Spirit approach focuses on elevating our understanding of angels more as energies of light and sound intelligence that design the architecture of all existence, including us. She teaches that our consciousness, our electro-magnetic field, and our sound transmissions literally outpicture our personal reality into existence. She is less about praying to beings outside of us to help us. Instead, she teaches us how to align to our multidimensional aspects of empowerment, where we are fully capable of unlocking our highest potentials utilizing what she calls the angelic dream keys. She hosts a weekly podcast called Angels in the Buff and a weekly group coaching call via her private membership circle, the Angel Hood. And she's going to be sharing about that in a bit. And absolutely blessed to have you here. Stephanie, you ready to rock this?
I'm so ready, Chris.
Yes. Awesome. You're now live on Become Your Greatest Possible Self. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You are a rock star. It is a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to dive right into the theme of the day. Yeah. The theme of today is a purpose worth dying for, or living for, or giving everything we got for. So Stephanie, how does this concept show up in your life? How has it made a difference for you?
Well, thank you, Chris, for that wonderful introduction. And it's almost like you did my work for me now. I realize there's so much there, but thank you. I'm so honored to be here. Okay, so to me, I live my purpose in the daily, in the moment, every moment. That's part of what I teach people how to do anyway. So it's just naturally I have to walk the talk, right? So for me, it shows up in any experience that I'm going through, whether it's traumatic or whether it's uplifting or anything in between. I'm always conscious that there is a formless, informative intelligence, right, that is flowing through me and informing me to be informed here with you right now, right, to then come into the experience always as perfectly as it's supposed to be. So it's always an alignment of frequencies. When I'm here with you right now having this conversation, there's certain alignment happening, there's certain resonance happening. So everything is really vibrational. And so when we understand we live in a vibrational universe, then we're always in purpose, and we're here on purpose. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. So to me, we are always living in purpose. It just depends on your definition of purpose. If you mean somebody who says, I don't know what I'm here to do, I would say, ask again, because we always really know. It's just we might not be aware of it in this moment. So it's a process really of practicing connection. And what I mean by that is connecting to that formless aspect of who we are. Maybe what you would call your immortal self, what I call your angelic self, the other angle of consciousness that is working. So it's this type of concept, I would say, that when we embrace it, when we embrace there's something else going on other than the tangible reality we find ourselves in, and we can start to bridge into that, what I call the light stream areas of our life versus the mainstream areas, then we can have a bigger, fuller life experience in general. I do believe that's a very key element. A lot of people miss out on because they've shut down any spiritual belief at all. Maybe they had religion or dogma kind of turn them off to it. So they've just completely wiped it out of their reality, right? And I would just say they're missing out, because science and spirit is very related. So you kind of, I think at this point in time, benefit more from having some belief system that you can get into. Right. And I just offer a philosophy that it's more universal.
Yeah, I feel like we talk about faith. I just, like, for some reason I wanted to say faith, the word faith and the concept of faith. There's like this trusting, and there's this like energetic alignment with knowing that there's something bigger than just us at work. And to it's almost like we get to leverage the unseen energy and presences to be able to shift our reality or shift things into even more alignment with us, or whatever it might be our best selves, live our best life. But like that faith is inaccessible when we are closed off to spirituality, when we're closed off and we think we know it all, we think we're in control, and we're righteous and egotistical and all these things. Like, I think it's really incredible the power of spirituality and the doors and the opportunities and the whole expanse it can open up when we are open-minded, when we are willing to have these kinds of conversations. Because I was closed off before. I said, screw everything, screw my parents. They want me to believe in, Christianity. And so I closed off. And then I recognized I was like really in a dark space because of that resentment and guilt and shame that I was like building up. So I said, you know what? I don't know, but I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to like explore and hear what resonates with me, and just keep moving forward and try on different things and see what fits.
Yeah. And, to speak to that, the faith to me, faith is a frequency. Okay. And it's a frequency that exists somewhere between our belief, what we're willing to believe, and our knowing, our inner knowing, our deep gnosis. When we get into Gnosticism and some of the mystery teachings, the Gnostics were really not about putting even God outside of you. It was how to find a connection that it was so integrated that you were walking gods. I mean, that was really the idea in many ways. And it's not about being God from the ego standpoint, as you mentioned, right? It's not about that, but it's about understanding the creative mechanisms. Everything that we have available to us to create the life experience and just uplift and enjoy life more, right? Come into joy more, come into happiness more. What I'm finding with many people is they get stuck in the mental loops of trying to figure out all their past traumas, all their inner child work, all of these things, right? They'll go digging and digging and digging, and it's an endless rabbit hole, because ultimately you are infinite. Wow. You have infinite, streams of consciousness that you can tap into. And whether that you believe that is a past life of yours, or whether you are just simply tuning into some broadcast signal of a consciousness of a lifetime, it's irrelevant, really, as long as you understand how to process it and not hold on to it and embody it in a way that it's stuck and you're unable to move forward in your life. I see so many people saying, I got to clear this, I got to clear that, I got to purge these things and these limiting beliefs and the subconscious beliefs and all this programming. Yes and no. I'm going to be honest. Yes, because you can't fully ignore what you're mentally, consciously processing and just think your life's going to change if you don't do anything, right? But there is a limitation to how much do you dwell and constantly process and process and process too, and make that your work, right? Your whole life could be processing. It's at some point time to enjoy.
Yeah.
So the purpose, getting back to a purpose worth living for, let's go into the living, right?
Yeah.
The purpose worth living for is to, how can you stay in a harmonic alignment to that light, to that life that is fully optimized? I call it the halo effect for short. How do you stay in your halo state, you know, your this halo energy frequency, to really, wherever you're going, never be the victim, always feel fully empowered, understand that there's always something happening for your highest good, always happening, you know, in concert and in union with you on some level. And it's really understanding the universe is conspiring always for that highest good, for our ultimate soul growth.
Right.
And what I mean by soul growth is you come in with a certain design, a certain frequency, a certain energy. I call it the dream key, the angelic dream key that you are, to unlock your greatest potential. Now, there are universal keys that we can use and align to and attune to and saturate our system with. And it's kind of like thinking you're working each individual string of a harp, let's say, and you work each individual string. Each of these are specific keys. And then you come into like at one mint, atonement, or harmonic alignment, however you want to label it. And when you're in that melodic frequency, when you're in that higher vibration, you will find synergies happen. You will find the right people to put you in alignment with whatever your mission is or purposes or businesses for success. Let's say success, I know, is one area you focus on. So let's say somebody wants to build a new business. Well, yes, there's certain dream keys to work with specifically for success or constructing or materializing a new business. For instance, one would be, just for your viewers, Sitayel, right? Sitayel is the architectural frequency. So when we work with Sitayel, it's like working with mantras, for those who know about mantras. You repeat it in the mind, and that frequency literally just starts to run into the system, right? And saturates every cell, saturates the magnetic field of who you are. And then what happens is you go out into the world, within a few hours of doing that, maybe perhaps even, and meet somebody who's fully in alignment to build whatever that vision is, because you've set that as your intention. And you've also set it into your field of frequency. So it's all about your personal field as well.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, there's so many questions I want to ask you, because like I just love diving into the energy and the physics and like how the science all works for it. We're going to get there. Before we go there, I want to go back into your journey about like why did you come upon this path? I'm just curious, like what gave you this awakening, this passion to do this?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I used to work in sports entertainment, other entertainment. I went through the gamut of many different studio systems and entertainment media, also technology, even worked in the private jet industry. I was around a lot of people who had huge amounts of success, fame, fortune, all of it, right? And what I realized is after a while, it's like, then what? Okay, so this is the pinnacle of all these things, and these people are still relatively miserable, a lot of them, right? They're not happy.
Yep.
And what was interesting is when I asked that question in my life, I got an answer that came very unexpectedly. I was getting a treatment with somebody, like a massage or something, and she says, I know you didn't come in here for this, but I work with angels, and I want you to know there's 3 standing in the room right now, and you're one of their girls, and they want me to let you know they have a message for you. And I'm like, what? I wasn't, you have to understand, my father was Jewish, my mother was Catholic turned Buddhist, then New Thought, and like religion was not something that I was indoctrinated with really, but I was kind of exposed to many things, right? So I was open, but I hadn't really adopted any one belief. So anyway, I didn't really know what to make of it, I'll be honest with you. And then I left, and within the next few weeks, I can just tell you, I was bombarded. The only way to put it is I was stalked by angels. And what I mean by that is the understanding of the archetypes that people understand angels to be, these ideas of angels, right? And people talking about them or telling me they saw them around me. I mean, crazy stuff. I won't even get into all the supernatural aspects right now. But my point is, it got me convinced that something was going on. It took about 3 years of convincing Chris. It took a while. It wasn't just like, yeah, let me go do angels. It took a while. So that was when the belief had to set in. Yeah. Right. And then eventually there was a level where I started to really accept it and accept, okay, there's something going on. And as soon as I said yes, as soon as I said, okay, what do you want? What do you need me to do? I'll communicate. What do you need me to do? I was lined up with a new radio show, was publishing my own book, and like on a panel, producing a panel of 9 experts from around the world on angels within a month and a half.
Wow.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about here. You know, it's really easy to manifest those things when we are in alignment with them and when we're aligned with our true purpose. I was resistant to my purpose. I still stayed resistant for a while because I thought, how am I going to make money and survive and eat and you know, clothe myself, talking to angels and communicating what that is. And I also it didn't really work for me how angels had been expressed, you know, up until this point. I didn't see them. I wasn't like that. For me, it was a communication system that I tuned into like a broadcast station. And so as I kept moving through this process of communication and getting information, it developed into what I now call angelic arts and sciences. So we are creating through the science of angelic frequencies, which are both sound and light, electromagnetic, all of these forces working together to inform, again, formless into form who we are. And so it took a while to unfold, I'll be honest. It took many years for me to really come to where I am now as a coach and as somebody who works with people. I work with light leaders. I'm the spiritual guide for many light leaders, you know, to empower them because they hold space for so many and then they need a recharge, right? So I'm kind of the angel behind the scenes, right? You know, who's kind of lifting the wings of all these others out there who are doing the work that they came in to do. They're genius. And so that's really where I started, like I said, in the media and all these things, so I could speak many languages. So I could relate to where people are at, if they're media influencers themselves or technology influencers and so forth. So that's why I started where I started.
That's powerful. And I love that, like how the background, we never know like what skills we're going to pick up along the way. But, you know, now looking back, you're like, I was around all these people in different cultures of technology and influencing and different stuff like that, media, so that I could speak the language of the people who are like the most out to make an impact in the world, to like quote unquote lead the charge, lead the you know, massive movement to make that difference and help so as many people as possible. And now you get to support the people who are out there leading those charges and help them recharge, help them, you know, step into their greatness, step into their power, and really show up as their best all the time. Like that's what you're here to do. And you had to go through that journey of figuring out, like, you know, what am I really here for? What's my purpose? And like listen to the message and say, yes, I am willing to do that. I am willing to listen to these messages, these angels, this guidance, this divine guidance, and move forward with it. And then you saw the evidence of what happens when you quote unquote like surrender to the process and say, all right, use me as a vessel kind of thing. Like I know there's something bigger at work here, so let's go with it. Let's run with it.
Yeah, and,
awesome.
and you know, what I really specialize in too are people who are going through their own awakening processes, having different skills open up. Maybe they're becoming more intuitive or they're hearing things, whatever it is, you know, people are opening up into another reality of who they are beyond just their physical, tangible. And so I help guide them, tell them it's okay, you're normal, it's all good, you know, and give them more direct guidance in how to develop that. You know, I call it sovereign development because I believe what we're all designed or willing, if we're willing to, we're all designed to come into a place of neutrality that I call our sovereign state, where we are fully free of the conditions that surround us, that we are not bent to the will of outside forces, conditions. We are able to hold our peace within always. Because when we are able to hold peace within no matter what is happening, we are kind of like the eye of the storm. And that's a very powerful place to be in your life when you're not just being fluttered around like a leaf, you know what I mean? And just being blown around, right? And it's interesting because this past week, in fact, you know, here in California, we've had raging forest fires, all sorts of, a mass shooting, all sorts of chaos. And for me, my job is to always be that sovereign state, right? For my clients and hold neutrality. And what I mean by neutrality isn't that you're not compassionate, not loving, and not, you know, assisting. It just means you're not crumbling under anxiety, stress, and pressure that everybody else is, right? Or not everybody, but, you know, certain people. And so you're able to assist. because you know the truth of who you are. And that's what the sovereign state means, is you are fully free to express who you are without apology. You can be in complete transparency and integrity. You don't have to fake it till you make it, because you understand that it's all awesome. Everything's awesome. There's no like, oh my God, this is happening. No, it's happening exactly as it's supposed to.
Right.
So you're in trust and you can surrender to the process. And I think that's what I'm really here now to develop with people, is to give them certain skill sets, to give them certain tools to maintain their sovereign state. And that's really my next, why I'm bringing forth the dream keys in the way that I am, so that people can really bring that into their practice.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I also hear like the sovereign development is like, no matter what is happening, also sticking to the habits and the rituals that keep us in state, in optimal health, in optimal well-being, in optimal whatever, and if we're not doing those things, then we get to look at it. But also, if we're not doing those things, then we get to say, hey, I'm not going to let the fact that I didn't do my habits take me out, knock me off course. I know that those are like the best things for me, and like I can still choose to be in alignment. I can still choose how I respond to certain situations, how I show up to be my best self, regardless of what's happening. And I think it takes a certain level of like perspective and seeing things from different angles. Would you say it's like perspective and shifting belief systems ultimately that is like kind of the top level of what you do with your clients?
Yeah, I would say I call it the angel angle, right? It's like there's always an angel angle to things, the observer mind. There's when you're not in the ego survival, let me make myself feel safe and better because somebody just said something mean to me or judgmental and I have to defend myself. And, we get involved in these conversations sometimes where we have to be right and all these things, right? When you really understand that wherever people are at, it's none of your business. Like if they're freaking out about something going on the political spectrum, and you're welcome to engage in that. I don't suggest it, because then you're feeding your energy to it.
Totally.
And that's another whole conversation about feeding and supplementing energy. But I would say that, yes, coming from that observer mind, coming from that higher octave, right? Looking at things from a different frequency of belief, and just realizing all you can do in that moment is acknowledge their pain, send them love, know where they're at, understand their inner child is having a complete tantrum perhaps, and they're taking it out on you in that moment because they just don't know who they are, and know them as who they are truthfully, just know that. And the knowing is what's really important. A lot of people are familiar with the I am concept, affirmative statements, I am this, I am that, whatever that is. I am wealthy, I am healthy, all these things. What I teach, and I'll give you guys another little freebie out there watching, is something I call the sovereign statement. The sovereign statement is, I know that I am sovereign beyond all measure and belief. I know that I am wealthy beyond all measure and belief. I know that I am healthy, right? Beyond all measure and belief. And what that means, so I'm going to set this up into a three-parter so you understand it.
Yeah.
The I know that I am is acknowledging the I am source presence of you, which some people say might dwell, let's say, in your solar plexus, and some people feel it in their heart, I usually anchored in my solar plexus. It's the solar power center, like the I am that glows out and says, I'm here, right? Watch me blaze, okay? Right. The I know is your heart center. It's the operating system. Wow. It's the center of you that knows exactly what it's doing, and it's putting out an electromagnetic field all the time that is informing your personal life experience in every way, all the time, 24/7. Never shuts off. That's the amazing aspect of our hearts, right? It's just this constant beat. Yeah. So every pulse, every beat, you are putting out electromagnetic. The electro represents the masculine or the electric dynamic. The feminine is represented by the magnetic, what draws in, right? What brings us back in and nurtures us. So when we think of it that way, the I know that I am is acknowledging the heart, the feminine, and the solar, the I am, the electric, the dynamic, bringing them together, right, in the unification. And then stating whatever it is your intention is. So in this case, let's just go with abundant, right? Wealthy. That's the middle portion. The third portion, I should say, the bookend is beyond all measure and belief. Well, where does that put you? What locale, what location are you at when you say beyond all measure and belief?
But like you're encompassing the universe, anything, any possibility within the universe.
Right. You are literally outside the system of intelligence, meaning beyond all measurement of time, space, condition, even your very DNA. DNA is a measurement, okay? You're putting yourself outside all of those conditions, right? All measurement of that. And belief, subconscious, conscious belief, superconscious, angelic conscious, any consciousness. You're putting yourself outside of that. So where are you putting yourself? You're putting yourself at the 0 point source point field. That is going to think everything into form from the original state of consciousness, that first thought, consciousness. So that means you can act upon the entire system, including you, right? When you set your intention outside that system. But if you're setting the intention, if you think you can think your way there only, you're still in the loops of all the miasma, all the distortion, static frequencies, all these other things of other people too. You're in their conditions, their beliefs, as well as your own. You're in the soup, and you're in this like mental stuff that you want to get out of that to act upon it. It would be like asking somebody who's in a psychotic state, please fix your mind. Good luck with that. It's not going to happen, right?
Right.
Because they're in the psychosis.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. When we set this intention of, I know that I am abundant beyond all measure and belief, you're stepping yourself outside the system to then inform the system from the pure, immaculate light, frequency, consciousness, intelligence, what have you, of abundance.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, got it now.
It's like creation. It's pure creation force or power or whatever we might want to call it. So in terms of like when we're using these affirmations, or you called it a sovereign statement.
Sovereign statement. Yeah, that's a sovereign statement. Yeah.
Sovereign statement. So that's really powerful. And that's like, how does that interact with the beliefs that we have? For people who are holding shame and guilt and all these subconscious things, like what's different about that, so to speak, than an affirmation in like specifically?
Right. So once again, in this case of shame, I know that I am childlike purity. I am childlike innocence beyond all measure and belief. I know that I am one with all that is love beyond all measure and belief. You can fill in that blank with anything that you want to neutralize. So it's a neutralizing statement when you start to put in the opposite, right, of whatever it is you're looking to clear out of your field. Because this is an entire field of energy. Your interface is what I call your sovereign sphere. This interface between you, I can't fit my whole sphere in this little frame, but between you and the external source field, right? What everybody calls the field of intelligence. Again, we're getting into the quantum side of things, right? The science side. There's an interface between where your information, your personal template or temple is informing and interfacing with the collective. And so this is why people say wherever two or more are gathered, right? This idea of prayer whenever two or more are gathered, what that really means is an amplification, because now you have an alignment between two different spheres coming together that creates actually a different type of a field that's amplified. It also creates the Vesica Pisces, and there's a lot of sacred geometry to this. And I mean, we don't have time to get into all the deeper meanings of all these things. I'm giving you kind of like the iceberg tip on a lot of this. But that said, there is an impact into the source field when people are coming together as collectives to set intentions. This is why you have people say, please send prayers. And prayers do work. It's a technology. It's less about religion. It's more about intention. So again, I'll give you an example of this. Recently in Hurricane Michael, I set an intention to bubble up, meaning put a sphere of intention around a home of one of my angelhood members. Specifically, she was like, please help, and I said, okay. And we did. We bubbled up her house. Her house was the only one left standing on the street. This stuff works. So it's just understanding, though, that you have to be in the belief, faith, and trust, and knowing, truly knowing that it works. And that's the practice. So Chris, the practice really is working with this like going to the gym on a regular basis. You can't expect to be Schwarzenegger overnight. You know what I mean? You're not going to walk in the gym and start lifting 400 pounds. You're going to start with 20, 30, 40, whatever. Same thing with any of this stuff. You've got to just keep working at it. And what happens is I say there's like series of experiments. You're trying things out to see what happens, and then you get the confirmation, you get the validation. You're like, oh my God, that worked. Oh my God, that worked. And this was my life for 12 years, or not 12, but for many years, where I went, wow, this stuff really works. And so that's when I started going out and teaching it, because I'm like, if I can do it, you can do it. That was my whole message. I didn't get struck by lightning. I didn't have a near-death experience. I communicate through the source always through my intention.
Yeah.
And again, if I can do it, everybody can do it.
I want to talk about these dream keys, and before we get to that, I think people might be asking themselves the question, like, am I ready to use these or to utilize these kind of things? Similar with the sovereign statement, I think people can use that wherever they're at, and it will have a different level of impact and effect for them depending on where they're at in their journey, in their conscious journey and awakening, like how it'll affect their life, and in terms of like actually aligning with it and resonating with it at like 100% or the deepest level. Like, can you tell us a little bit about the conscious journey of evolution and what we can anticipate with that, and then how that leads into the dream keys?
Sure. So when I first came across these keys, I didn't understand them. I didn't create them. They're very ancient. Right. But when I first came across them, that's partly what opened me up, was working with them. And so what I decided was to introduce them to some of my clients, and they started working with them, and they were having really amazing mystical experiences. And I say mystical just because I don't know what else you would call it, but just things like they would see or experience, what have you. And so that's what first starts you really getting that, okay, there's something going on beyond just the tangible, right? And then after, like I said, there's quite a few of them. It's not just like two, there's many. And so as you keep using them and you get more and more into harmony with yourself, and you find yourself less anxious, less upset, maybe you have physical ailments, they work on that too. Whatever it is, it starts to recalibrate your system, basically. And it's almost like getting a software upgrade. It's the best way to put it, to your system. That's awesome. Over time, instead of running, then what happens is you go from going PC, running the PC, and you go to Mac, right? Yes. So now you go up a level. I don't want to hate on Macs or PCs or you know what I mean? I'm not like, I'm just using it as an analogy. So everybody out there who loves a PC, thank you, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying different operating system, right? But if you think about Macs, they're much more about artistry. That's what they started with. It's concepts, artists, image, creative. This is what I mean. It's bringing in these creative artistic elements, design, right? That's what they were really much more built for, versus business, number crunching, that stuff. So it's a very good analogy, actually, as to our own ultimate evolution. So when you get into the Mac phase of your operating system, or going into what I call the true AI, the angelic intelligence, not the artificial AI, you're going into another level of increasing your ability to access areas, again, that you might not have paid attention to, because you're working with those types of frequencies. You're working with the consciousness, literally. The dream keys are angles of source, God, love, life, consciousness. Here's your label. So as you are saturating your system and getting that software upgrade, eventually find yourself in a whole new operating system.
And saturating that system means
mantra, working with it like in mantra in the mind. So you meditate. It's a meditation process. It's also a way you can do it is out loud. So if people are driving, they can use it, right? There's certain ones I tell them, don't use this at night because it'll give you energy. There's like Omayel is the dream key of like the Red Bull, right? Version, right? So you don't want to do that at night. But if you're like low on energy, or maybe you're a depressed individual, if you work with Omayel, that starts to bring in more energy and more elevation of mind, right? So the other thing to consider is, once you are at this other operating level, then you can combine them, combine these keys, okay? So you can create almost like a sentence structure with them, right? And so that can start to really work on the system in multiple ways. And so that's where it gets a little bit more advanced. But I would say fundamentally, even just working with a handful of them and really working with them and bringing them into your field on a regular basis is a great way to start. And in my school, Angelic Academy, and the Angelhood specifically, I work one-on-one with a group, small groups, to teach them how to work with these systems. So it's not like I just leave you out there on your own. I do have a process.
Right.
Support.
I have a question in terms of the difference between like just doing affirmations, or even the upgraded version is sovereign statements, right? Mm-hmm. Sovereign statements. What's the difference between sovereign statements and tapping into these dream keys? Do we need both? Can we only do one versus the other? What would you recommend?
I'd say use it all. I mean, it's up to you. Whatever you feel aligned with every day. You're unique. You're a unique instrument of what I call living light. Living light is projecting through you. You're like a prism. I call it being like a diamond angel, right? You're multifaceted. It's up to you to just clear out the inclusions and that get the mud off, whatever, the scratches, more refinement. And as you keep refining your diamond heart, your diamond instrument, this whole level of who you are, then you're able to be a clear projected light out into the world. So people are like, wow, who is this person? Right. And you become more magnetically, you magnetically draw people to you. Yeah. So in that, I would say it's all good. It's just up to you to decide what you feel like working with. I might run a few sovereign statements a day specifically. I don't run too many, but I might set a few different sovereign statements in my interface and in my field, so to speak. Right. It's like being a programmer. You're just going into your computer and launching certain things and getting that set up, right? Same idea. Then I might run, a couple dream keys in and say, this is what I'm feeling a little weird right now because I had this conversation, or I just don't have enough energy today, or whatever it is. It's like saying, okay, I'm going to take this supplement. I'm going to take some B12 and some, some vitamin C, right? It's for you to decide. That's the beauty of this work. Sovereignty is all about your own personal empowerment. So I just give you tools and you get to decide which ones work best for you, and whichever ones don't work for you, you don't have to use. I give you a plethora of options because we're all unique. We're unique like a fingerprint.
That's right. I love it. So let's start diving into like how can we actually use these dream keys? Can you tell us a little bit more about how to apply some of them? I know you mentioned there's a lot of them, so we're not going to have time to go over all of them in this interview, but maybe you can educate us on a few of them that we can start using and getting benefit from them to continue working with you and growing with you. Yeah,
absolutely. So what I would say, for those who want to come really into the vibration of love, let's just say love and wisdom, right? Okay. And that energy that is universal and also I would say brings us into a lightness of being. And it actually, the key itself is kind of fun. It's Geliel. And I kind of say it's like jelly, just like fun, light. So Geliel spelled Jeliel. And Geliel, again, it's just inviting Geliel in. So I'll give you the process I teach as far as how do you invite the activation of this? How do you go into unification with this? So you take about 30 seconds to just quiet the mind. So you just can breathe deeply, breathe into your belly, release the day. Or if you're just waking up in the morning, open up, with the breath, open up the breath into the body, bringing the breath of light into the body. So what I mean by that is just when you breathe in, imagine light coming in with every breath. And so I always say working with light is really important. So that's another aspect of what I teach is light streams. And light streams are essentially the bandwidths of source that we can use, and different lights have different intention or different purpose, if you will. These would be what people traditionally call angels. The actual angels or angles of consciousness, or like the rainbow body that people talk about, or the rainbow bandwidth, all the rainbow, those bandwidths, each and every single bandwidth is a specific angle of consciousness or angel of information. The messengers is that information, right? That idea of the messenger of an angel, right? So these dream keys, the same thing, they're just more specific in each of those larger bandwidths. So you take about 30 seconds again to just breathe in light, breathe in the whole diamond light, I call it, which is the whole conscious spectrum, the multivitamin L, if you will. And so I just breathe that in, right, and take some time to relax. And then I start to say the name. It's really simple, Geliel. And then you can say it, Geliel, 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 just whatever sing-songy rhythm you prefer, it's all good. You know, some people are really singers, and so they'll get really in their head about it, like awesome, and like create whole symphonies around it. But my point is, it's designed to put you into a relaxed, transcendent state. It's very similar to transcendental meditation for those who are familiar. It's not dissimilar to that. The only difference in this case is with TM, you get one mantra for life. That's it. To me, you have a plethora to choose from, and, and you're doing double duty. You know, you're getting some efficiency with it. You're getting to use something to bring you in that transcendence, but you also are clearing out distortions, because what it does is it goes in and saturates, and as it saturates, it's breaking up distortions that are the opposite of love in this case. So whatever is the opposite of love for you, whatever that's represented by, because your father called you this one time, your mother didn't make you school lunch, your friend was a bully, whoever, you know, somebody at school, all these things that we hold somewhere at the deeper cellular memory levels, the light, it can't hide from the light. The light reveals all, right? So when we work with light, it's really important to understand it's the revealer. It goes in and it binds all those things. So this is what this does. But in the intention of bringing you into alignment and saturating you with love in this case, that's what Angelic is about. So as you keep working with it, you will naturally start to give off a resonance. You actually could possibly, if you were to do Kirlian photography, measure this scientifically. I've done it. I've actually had an entire rainbow afro above my head because I do it so much. So it's really interesting, you know. So what I would say is then you do that for about 20 minutes. And then you take about 2 to 3 minutes to kind of come back just through the breath. You let go of Angelic and you just come back into the breath. And as you're breathing, again, bringing light always in is always helpful too. And just bringing in the feeling of gratitude. Gratitude for the service of that information, right? And gratitude is super important because the gratitude is the gravity or magnetic pull of your heart that you are now anchoring in more. So gratitude amplifies gravity, basically, in your system. So what's drawing into you and anchoring you into your body. So if anybody is somebody who tends to be flighty and ditzy, let's just call it, you know, in a not so nice way, maybe, but you know, they're kind of airy and they're just like all over the place and scattered, and they're like have no idea where they're coming or going, lost their keys, can't do this. I mean, those types, we'll just call it that. Anchoring, right? Gratitude, first of all, is the emotional frequency to anchor in. The term anchor, and imagining just yourself getting denser and denser is another way to anchor your higher vibrational being into your body. Because what I will say often with people like that is they're not comfortable being in their body. They're not feeling safe in their body for some reason. And so there's kind of this push-pull all the time of, am I in, am I out? Am I in, am I out? You know? And so Angelic is really helpful to just really come into love on all levels so that you can feel safe in your body.
So I'm curious about the word, because, you know, I find it fascinating about the word, the frequency, right? Like when we speak a word, we're radiating frequency because of that sound, right? The sound is a wavelength, is a frequency. So is the word Jeliel, like, is that literally the frequency of love and that relation? And for example, if I told a little kid, 4-year-old kid, to say Jeliel a bunch of times, would that induce a love frequency, even if he didn't know that it was love?
That's a good question. Yes. And the reason is because at the collective consciousness level, there's enough belief system around these keys that hold that as the truth of what that is. And so it's programmed into the source field to inform oneself that that's what that is. Okay. So the child, even if they're new to the system and they're just newly, you know, they're only a few years old, the frequency of that word is absolutely going to hit their system with that information the same universally. So there's a universality to this, absolutely. And I've had children respond to this. You know, I've told them these keys and they work with them and they see things. They're the first ones. They're like, oh my God, there's this big light over, you know, and they get all excited. So this is what I'm saying by spirituality or spiritual awakening is a process of experiments. You know, it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, and in terms of like you have been mastering these dream keys, now I'm curious, like that's what came into your conscious field and your, experience in this reality. And there's a level of agreement in, universal consciousness that those are what they are, and that's why they work. Like, how do you know if that is, is that the most powerful? Have you heard of like any other systems? Like, how do you know what's most powerful? Like, if I'm going like bang for my buck kind of thing,
Well, I think there isn't one system that is more powerful or less powerful. I think it's what is resonating with you. Like for me personally, I'll say that there are other mantras. You can go into the Vedic tradition, go to India, Hindu, all that. Chanting in Buddhism, all these things. I've chanted in Buddhism before. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo is a chant, right? Universally accepted among certain sects of Buddhists that use it. For me personally, I found that there was still too much of an energy of dogma. And what I mean by dogma is there was an energy of expectation in that if I do this, I have to do it this time, this face, this direction. There's a certain ritual and ceremony. There were certain restrictions put on ourselves that we have to perform for some outside force of God and pray and beseech and pray to God, please help me, or Jesus, or whoever that is for them, right? There's this sense of, I need help and I need to go outside of me to find it, and it's going to come save me like Superman. And they have all sorts of belief systems that they've created to expect that. And then if they're let down, God, Superman, Jesus, whoever doesn't show up and deliver, then suddenly they have nothing. Then they say, I don't have faith, screw religion, all that, right? So there's these kind of things, because there's always going to be those moments when a loved one dies. This woman was just down driving out of the fires the other day on video saying, please God, please God, please God. I don't even know if this woman was religious the day before, right? You know what I mean? But in those moments, we're calling out, right? So my point is, to me, it's empowering ourselves to know that we are those creators too. We are an aspect of that. We are the drop of the ocean and the drop, as Rumi says, it's all interchangeable. But I do believe for me, this is the most neutral system.
I love it.
I call it neutral and, again, sovereign for a reason, because yes, angels can have a religious connection for some people, right? However, I also find that that's kind of my warm and fuzzy candy-coated shell that I put on there to make people feel good about what they're doing, and that's great, that's fine. But really, we're talking about sound, light, frequencies.
Yes.
Right? Yes. So it's just to make people feel warm and fuzzy and have fun. I wear my little angel wings, symbolically, it's like to remind myself, like, you are a light being, remember your light, right?
Yes.
But still, it's good to have fun and play with it, not take it so seriously. And that's what I love about it. But also, in truth, there's a lot of winged beings across every belief system. You go into Zoroastrianism, you go into Judaism, Christianity, any belief system, there's winged beings. The idea of a winged being being the elevated version of ourselves, the elevated in general. So to me, it's a universal bridge. And so that's why I use it.
That's powerful. I love it.
Sure.
I love it. I love it. That's such a great response. And I totally agree that it's more about like, hey, let's go from the source within and what resonates with us, and each person is going to resonate with something different. And like, you have a very scientific kind of mindset that you bring to it, and then you use the wings and angels as kind of like the sugar coating. And at the fundamental level, it's like, hey, how does this universe operate, quote unquote? Well, through certain principles and laws, and one of those laws is like laws of light and frequency and all these things, like that we get to operate within. So let's use the mechanisms, let's use the actual function of the universe to shape our reality, to create ourselves, to create our best life. So I really love it. It's powerful.
And you have these beautiful wings behind you of the phoenix. Yes. And I want to talk about the phoenix, right? Because phoenix is one of my symbols, because I'm a Scorpio. So we have the phoenix, the eagle, and the scorpion. And Scorpio is one of the only signs that has 3 different symbols. But the reason for that is because Scorpios are somewhat in the occult and mysteries, and occult meaning hidden, right? Things that are hidden from us, let's reveal. So my whole makeup, even on an astrology level, if you go into that construct of belief, is that I'm here to dive into the depths and bring it to light, right? And rise up and bring from the ash of that primordial soup of nothingness something really, beautiful. And so this idea of the recycling this idea of, you know, coming into the fire levels and then also rising up into that beauty of this mystical bird that flies, right, is a very angelic mysticism too, a symbol of that. So that's how you and I connect, just so you know, is that on a subconscious level, there is an understanding of who you are at the depths of who you are, that there is an angel in human form that is a communicator messenger to the masses. That is what that represents. That's all really what when I tell people what are angels, we are messengers. We are here to elevate, we are here to empower, we are here to get people out of their victim consciousness, we are here to help people understand the truth of who they are on some level. And heal, right? And everybody has a different saturation point. I run usually in the indigo blue kind of violet spectrum. Some people are green, they're really into healing people. I'm more alchemy and protection and making people feel empowered, right? Everybody's gonna have their message, their frequency they run on. So just understand that it all kind of interchanges, you know, and I try to bring it in full circle. I try to bring all of those elements. So people who do have a very strong belief system in angels already, maybe they've been working with angels and angel oracle decks and all these other things, they're not going to suddenly not feel supported or think that's wrong, because it's not. It's just elevating up to the quantum computer level. Back to quantum is the next thing, right? As we were talking about earlier, now we're starting to work with a whole system of belief, knowing, gnosis.
Right.
Understanding.
It's incredible. And also when you say like we're angels here, the thing that pops into my mind is like we're just beams of light. You know, like we're just beams of light to help other people remember that they're beams of light too.
Yeah, you're a living projector of light. You're like light and sound projected through and broadcasting out, and you're a living transmission of that. And when we really understand every cell, by the way, going back to the science again for the guys out there who are like going, wait a minute. The science of this is your DNA, when measured, when looked at, gives off light and it gives off sound. That double helix, think of it like a filament in a light bulb. So that's what creates the aura around us, the energy around us. I've had people see my aura because they can see auras, right? Aura is just the energy field that we give off. And they're like, I can't even look at you because I'm holding so much light, you know, whereas people who don't see auras are like totally fine, right? So it's really funny because, again, I'm not clairvoyant. I don't see stuff like that. So I just have to take their word for it. Again, going into faith, belief, trust, right? So we're all in our own realities in a way of how this experiment works, so to speak, this overall Earth experiment. But yes, absolutely. You are like a prism. And depending on how clear that prism is, you are going to create a rainbow spectrum. And depending on where you're blocked, each chakra represents an energy center also of that rainbow. So wherever you're blocked, let's say your root chakra is super blocked. That's the ruby red ray at your kind of your sacrum is the best way to put it. That's all about safety, security, abundance, right? So if that's totally closed down, that's also going to associate with someone's sexuality and ability to go out and have partnership. All of that shut down means that you don't believe in some other subconscious belief level that you deserve abundance, that you deserve security to be supported, that you can be self-reliant and support self. So it's really important to even understand the energy of you only on those levels, if nothing else. So that you can say, oh, I got to work on bringing more red and saturate red into my root chakra so that I can really feel safe in my body and able to birth out from that area of my body and create what it is I desire and whatever that is.
What's the practical way to like send red energy or even, you know, the angel or the dream key to speak into existence? Is it like, would you say it's speaking it into existence or access dream key, use dream key? Like what's the, like, how do you say it?
There's different ones for abundance and there's different ones that are going to work on that chakra. But more importantly, let's just keep it really basic. Before we even get into dream key levels, let's just say, sit quietly, imagine ruby red light coming into that area of your body. And like you're sitting in a pool of light all around your pelvis, all around your hip bones, that whole area. If people have a hard time walking because their hips are inflamed, it's because there's something in there trying to get their attention because their energy is out of balance, right? Anything coming in, this is the other thing I want to share, anything that's showing up in your physical body already was being informed in your spiritual, mental, emotional, causal fields way before. By the time it shows up into your physical, it's something you've been ignoring at these other levels. So the reason we use dream keys is what happens is as you're mantraing with that, right, and you take about 2 minutes to surface, it's like scuba diving, not snorkeling, right? You don't just come up out of it, right? So what happens though while you're in it, just to keep people understanding how this process works, is you're working Jaliel into the body. You might see something. And you also might get these random thoughts like, oh, I forgot to turn off the laundry, whatever, like something. Again, come back into, oh, that's right, I'm meditating, Jaliel, and you just come back to it. But that said, it brings up images sometimes. You might see a symbol of a hummingbird. You might be seeing other symbols. You might see someone's face. Oh, I need to call them. It'll bring things up. And so as it releases that out of your system, because it is releasing, it's like little bubbles of champagne coming up, you can pay attention and then go into a dream dictionary, look up the symbols. If there is a symbol you still remember, don't try to hold on to these things. Just if you still remember, look it up. It's information. Yeah. But in the meantime, just work with light. Just say, I access that beautiful ruby red light stream, and I ask this light to come into my body and saturate my hips, my pelvis, my root chakra. Direct it. You're the director. So you just direct it into the body and you saturate that area. And of course, there's other light that we don't have time for. And that's why I do what I do. I teach.
That's why there is a next step to take after this interview. I love it.
It's a lot to cover in 1 hour. So
it totally is. There's so much wisdom. And I think, what's really interesting is like you are mastering this and sharing it with people. And you've been on this path for years, years and years and years. And so you get to share this, and there's a certain group of people who are like, oh, I agree with that, I resonate with that, that makes sense to me, and they're ready to take action on it. And there's certain groups of people who are like, I just don't get this conversation yet. Like I'm doing my best to keep up here, Stephanie and Chris, but and that's cool too. Wherever people are at, it's all perfect. But I think that the real important thing is just recognize that we can always take another step. We can always say, hey, I want to find out more about this. I want to find out more about this mindset, this paradigm, this ability to access consciousness, information, to channel light, to channel sound, whatever it is that people are searching for to create my reality, to create happiness, to create joy, to create, the relationship of my dreams, the life of my dreams, be able to travel, time and money, freedom, whatever that is for you. I think that it's really cool that we can channel these gifts, this knowledge into those things. So if we're like kind of wrapping it up and to give our audience one takeaway or something that they can really start to implement just because of this interview, like what would you say that is, Stephanie, that they can really take action on and start doing?
I mean, first and foremost, I've given them the sovereign statement. I've given them a couple dream keys to try out, and they can do Omayel, like I said, for energy. They can do Jaliel for love, Sitayel if they're looking to create and they want to sit down and design out, a full blueprint or map, right? Like a lot of people create maps for where they're going, right, for the new year. So those are just some practicals. The next step would be honestly angelicacademy.com. Just go and see if the angelhood resonates with you. It's a monthly membership. So it's $44 a month, and you're basically able to work with me on a weekly basis, which is awesome. I do an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hour call every week with a group. So that's mentoring. That's where they can dive deeper into this. They can ask questions. There's a Facebook group that's private. All that is available. So that's a beautiful transitional place to kind of try this out on her size, right? And if that's too much and they're not willing to even want to commit on that level, then I would say Angels in the Buff Radio, angelsinthebuff.com. I have 3 seasons of archives that they can explore all sorts of beliefs, because I interviewed some of the top luminaries in the world and had interviews with when I was going through my own spiritual, awakening, I was a little scientific experiment person, right? I'm like, let me see what this means and what's the common denominator. So that would be another resource for them, that they can check into. And I do a weekly podcast there. So those are just some resources, that they can find me. And Awaken Angels on Facebook, if they want to find just kind of in general, get some information, they're kind of curious, or Angelic Academy on Facebook is another one that they can find.
Awesome. Amazing, Stephanie. I'm just curious, like, what do you see in the next couple years, like the big vision for you? Because like this is huge stuff. I'm just curious what your vision is.
You know, my purpose, going back to what we really are here to do, my purpose is to awaken angels on earth. My purpose to awaken angels, and what I mean by angels again are those light leaders that are here to really have a message of empowerment for the planet and to help us all come into a place of sovereignty and freedom on all levels. And so what I see for myself is really having, you know, angelhood grow to a massive collective so that people understand they are not just a brotherhood or sisterhood. They can get even more to neutral and go to that light level and say they're part of the angelhood. And that means they're just here for humanity as a whole, you know, and they understand that that empowerment is always a daily practice.
Yeah.
It's a living light practice. It's not just once a week. It's not just, you know, on the weekends going to church or whatever, their synagogue or whatever. And the other thing is, I see, you know, I'm writing my book, The Angelic Dream Piece, so I see that coming out, which will be really great for people to really dive more deeply into this, other than the angelhood. And because I teach it there as well, of course. And yeah, just moving into collaborations. I want to do a whole thing called the Awaken Angels Experience, which is going to be working with others like myself and doing panels and bringing forth and edifying each other that the angels have landed. You know, people who are here and understand who they are as this source made manifest in the form. We're here and we're here to help and here to assist us all. So 100%. That's my vision.
Awesome. Stephanie, you are a powerhouse. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom today. And everyone definitely stay connected with Stephanie. She's an incredible human being. And they can find you at angelicacademy.com or facebook.com.
StephanieLodge.com, yeah, either way.
That's right. Awesome. Awesome, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you. And I hope you have the best day ever.